Everybody can hear you.
Everybody can hear you. And I'll post a little thing on our Facebook that says
We're going to stay side by side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was posting "We are live" and it changed it to "alive," and I was like, "Yeah, that too."
Oh, thanks. Is that a problem? Is that a question?
Let's see. It's so hard to tell. Got to be a better way.
What are you trying to tell?
To make sure we're on YouTube.
I got a Google notification that we're live.
Yeah, it says we're live. We're on YouTube. Let's see. Bear with me.
No worries. DeAnna, I'm done with this. I'm leaving.
I mean,
you can't do it fast enough. I'm not doing it anymore.
YouTube is not so easy to tell if you're live or not.
Oh, true.
So it's not showing. Let's look on my computer. Let's see. I might just have to do it here. We are live. Okay. I just can't see it on our other stuff. So I'll just have to scoot back over. So we did it. We did it. Woo! Hardest part. Okay, we're done. And that was a wrap. I'm just kidding. The hardest part's done. Good morning, Carolena.
Good morning, DeAnna. What a pleasure.
What an absolute pleasure. So we're going to get started. And before we do, can we just take a moment to acknowledge our beautiful pendants? For those of you that are joining us on YouTube, you can see these amazing pendants that we got made. Mine is the FCBD U logo. Carolina's is the Fat Chance Belly Dance logo. I love them. These were from Svetlana Litvinova.
Amazing. They're beautiful. They're incredible. Like when I opened the box that you sent me, I was like,
I know. I just thought that would be. I mean, what do you get somebody that has everything? Custom, right? Custom. Yes. So we are here. So welcome everybody to this month's podcast episode. Today's episode is the past, present, and future of Fat Chance Belly Dance Style, which I know is a big topic. I mean, Carolina and I were talking about this earlier. We could kind of just sit around with cocktails and talk about this all day long. But I'm really excited for you all that have joined us live. So feel free to put any questions in the YouTube comments section. Hopefully we'll be answering a lot of the questions that you might have as we go. But I just want to say thank you to Carolina. So I've written a ton of notes, and I'll try not to take up too much of your time, but I want to give you the proper introduction. So it's my absolute honor to welcome a truly extraordinary guest to today's podcast. A pioneer who forever changed the dance world and sparked an entire global community of even new belly dance styles. We're thrilled to have Carolena Nericcio, the founder and creator of FCBD Style, previously known and also known as ATS. She's with us here to reflect on her incredible journey, share her wisdom, and discuss what's next for our beloved dance form. Please join me in giving the warmest welcome to the one and only Carolena Nericcio. Yay! Thunderous applause! Roses! All the things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm delighted, thrilled and delighted to be here. Anytime I get to spend with you is a thrill and a delight. And to be able to share it with the audience as well is fantastic. I'm excited. Thank you so much for putting this together.
Absolutely. So we were talking before our podcast and before this podcast episode, and we were just talking about how this episode is going to get a little raw. So by raw, we just mean like honest and heartfelt. And yeah, we just want to make sure that everybody really gets a sense of what it's taken to get this far in the dance community, in the dance world, and how we intend to move forward. What does Carolina's ease into retirement look like, feel like, and what can we expect for the future of our dance style? And these aren't necessarily all like joyful, expressive, like I would love for it to be. I mean, there's true rawness to this. So I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, as we were just discussing previously, the concept of the iceberg, you see the tip of the iceberg and you think that's the whole thing, but it's like massive. And that's kind of where we're at today is everyone's seen the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to show you just a peek at the massive undertaking or undergirding that it takes to make it happen. Hey, before we start, do we have, wait a minute, my audience chat is disabled.
Yeah, so I've pulled YouTube up on and so I'm monitoring the comments there. So every once in a while I'll check in with the comments over there, and I'll go ahead and read a few of them here.
Okay. So I should not be looking at the audience chat here because it's not there.
It's not there. Yeah.
Okay.
So taking a moment to say hello to those of you in the audience: Samantha, Deborah, Inga, Hinessa. They were like, yes, we can see you. Far North Dancers, hi from Norway. Hello, Carrie Sue. Carrie, it's so good to hear from you. Rita Mari, Maria, Iosef. Liz is here. Elena's here. I'm so excited. The whole gang is here. Let the party get started.
Hey.
Yeah. So as we go, feel free to chime in with any questions as you guys have. So I'll come over and look at YouTube every once in a while. But we have so much to cover, and try to keep this at about an hour because I think people kind of lose their attention span after that. Right. Let's dive right in. Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready.
So I thought we could start a little bit with the past. And I want to leave this open-ended for you, Carolina. Of course, there's so many interviews, and we have so many courses on FCBD that talk about the history and how you started it. So I don't want to really go into all of that. I want to get into the stuff that people might not realize or might not know. Yeah. So if we can start more with kind of like how it grew.
That's a good place to start. It grew. Well, number one, I wrote a note. I wrote down naivete. So as like worldly and erudite as I appear, as I am now, I would like to say, I started out like a little tadpole in terms of social interaction and how things worked. Like I grew up in California, and I just recently realized that California truly is the blue bubble. I'm glad I live in the blue bubble, and I don't understand the rest of the world because I live in the blue bubble. I was born here. This is where I'm at. So on top of all that, I was very introverted and not very socially able to interact with people. Um, so I really sort of struck off into this whole idea of this dance form with a huge amount of naivete. Like I did not know that it could not work. You know, it's kind of like the bumblebee is not supposed to, aerodynamically, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, but it doesn't know that, so it does. That was me. That was me for sure. So I just I made a flyer. I put the flyer on a telephone pole. Well, actually, in more places than a telephone pole. But I just started a class, and some people showed up, and then sometimes people didn't show up, and then they did show up, and then they didn't show up, and I just kept plugging along because I needed an anchor in my life at that point. You know, I had lost my job because I was kind of an idiot, and I got fired from my job, and well, I wasn't an idiot as much as I was naive. Like I just didn't get the social dynamics of the new manager at the shop I was working at and got myself fired. So I needed money, number one, but I needed an anchor. You know, like my job had been my anchor. And so I just showing up to that class every week was the anchor that I needed. So whether people came or not, I was going to show up. And then all of a sudden, boom, they showed up, you know. And remind me, where were we going with this?
The
Oh,
growth.
the growth. Right. So at first, it was just a collection of crazy movements, you know, and music that I liked and things that I remembered from Masha's dance class and things that I didn't remember and things that I just sort of, for whatever reason that I had that naivete, I also had an ability to just roll with it, you know. I think part of the introverted personality is you sort of sit back and watch, you know, and then you come in with what you got. But it's not like I don't sit back and watch and wait until it's perfect and then come in. I just kind of read the room. So even if I'm talking to you and we're interacting, I'm still sitting back and watching. You know what I mean? So in dance class, it was sort of the same thing. You know, we have people in the room. Let's do this thing. Okay, that's not working. Let's switch to this thing. I feel like playing this piece of music. Let's just do it. So it was really a hodgepodge of ideas and social energy in the room. And again, because of my sort of social ineptness and my naivete, my way of going about running this class was pretty strict. You know, I felt like if I'm paying rent on this room and you're coming into a dance class, we're going to be dancing and we're going to be doing it the way I tell you to do it. Not because I think I know everything, but I wanted to keep control. It felt like it was my responsibility to keep control of the room. And as the class grew bigger and bigger and bigger, a whole lot of personalities came into that room. So I had to really have this presence of, you know, I am the teacher. It's my decision, you know, how we're going to do these things. And at that, I can see in my mind where at the Noe Valley Ministry, the energy at that time. And I really wish I could have held on to that because I started to get pulled in a lot of different directions, sort of creatively and financially. And um, that sense of control sort of dissipated because of all the yanking. So, I guess like if I were going to use here's my diagram. um, Sort of like, you know, here's my idea over here. I think we're going to be doing this idea. Oh, look, it works. Let's do more of this idea. Oh, and if we add this piece of music, oh, that's cool. Let's do that. Oh my God, it crashed and burned. Well, let's try this idea over here. Will this one work? I think it's working. It's working. It's really working. Wow, it's huge. It's massive. Let's start another one here. So it's just like percolating ideas like out of my head and just following the ideas. And I know that I've said this before, but I swear it's true. And you know it's true. I did not think this up. It was the goddess thought this up. I'm just a vehicle of the goddess. That's the way that I look at it. Um, I literally feel like, why did I all of a sudden decide to start a dance class? I don't know. Why did I follow through with things without a plan? I don't know. But it was just like this trust the universe kind of a thing. And I just felt like I was getting pushed along. And there was never, I never had the thought, I never entertained the thought of quitting. It was just what I was doing. Even when wasn't sure what the plan was. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, the growth was sort of, it percolated. It percolated, it bubbled. Some of it worked, some of it didn't work, but it just kept rolling, rolling, rolling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm, for one, am grateful for that, because if you would have overthought it, like I tend to do,
Yeah.
you would have spent so much time thinking about it and not actually doing it. And I love what you said about, you didn't wait until everything was perfect. You were just like, I'm diving in. And then you just kind of like had to figure things out as you went.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, part of that is related to my upbringing or my youth. A lot of things didn't get explained to me as a kid. So I sort of stumbled into a lot of walls, not literally, but figuratively. And I'm not sure why my parents decided not to tell me certain things, but I just didn't understand some stuff about the way the world works. Perhaps I think my mom was a ardent feminist hiding in a little quiet librarian's body. You know what I mean? And I think my dad was an ardent feminist hiding in a gruff Italian dude body. Like basically, I don't think that they wanted me to toe the line. I feel like they had broke the mold when they split from the East Coast and came to the West Coast, and without even understanding it, they didn't set me up to follow rules about, you know, this is when you start looking for a husband. This is when you start planning for babies. All they wanted me to do was to go to college. That was it. And they didn't have a plan for that. So that didn't work out because I'm like, who's going to pay for college? And they were like, mm. So, but I feel like I was just sort of like set free to roam around San Francisco and sort of figure things out. And my best friend, Debbie Piccolotti, Debbie, if you're out there, we were the team. Like we took the bus everywhere in San Francisco, like on one bus pass, we figured out how to do the whole city. And we were just like every day after school, just be going everywhere, looking at everything. So I just sort of like made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of stuff and didn't have a plan and didn't follow rules. So when it came to creating this thing, I didn't have a plan and I didn't follow rules. So I sort of just did what came into my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that sense, the naivete really benefited you, right? But in the moment, you're just like trying to, let's just throw whatever we can at it and see what works.
Right. And just as you said, like if I had stopped to think about it, I would have been like, oh, this is impossible. It's never going to work. But I didn't stop to think about it. So I just kept rolling along and just, sort of like the little bubbles that I was talking about earlier. It was like if I hit a wall, I just went another way, but like at no point did I hit the wall, sit down and go, okay, this is not going to work. So I just pushed it.
So the growth happened organically, as we know, as you've mentioned to us before. Was there like a point, like a turning point where you were like, oh shit, this is a lot bigger than I intended it to, or like, whoa, this is completely something different?
Was there a moment, or was it a gradual, it was like a wave building? As I've mentioned before, the modern primitives movement was happening in San Francisco. So all of a sudden, people were getting tattooed, people were getting piercings, doing crazy things with their hair and their appearance. Sort of like we went from like the punk era into the modern primitives era. And San Francisco really was a gateway at that time, probably because San Francisco is on the west coast of the North American continent, and the Pacific Islands and Southeast Asia are over here. And a lot of that influence of tattooing and body modification came from the Pacific, South Pacific. So it kind of came this way, and there we were. And people were, and then at that point in San Francisco, people were really, artists were living in the city. It was creative. It was interesting. There was always something happening. So, that really pushed the interest in my dance class, because I had one little tattoo at the time, but that one little tattoo was enough for other tattooed people to go, what is this thing? Can I experience it? So there was it went from being like a sporadic amount of people in class to being like a huge amount of people in class. And I was like, what is happening? And enough that I had to start another class and then another class and then another class just to hold all the people that were interested. Can you imagine now?
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, there was a moment when it clicked for me. I had started another class, or let's see, I was teaching a class at the Noe Valley Ministry in San Francisco, the Thursday night class. That became the intermediate class, but it started out as the all level class. I also had Monday nights was a troop rehearsal at the Noe Valley Ministry, and things just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it seemed like, okay, let's make this more not streamlined, but let's broaden this out. I'm going to I found a place called the Betty May Studio. It was a little studio on Guerrero Street that was for little girls learning tap dance and ballet. And the mirrors were angled, so that little girls could like look at their feet. Anyway, it was a good price. Betty May was, she was game. And I thought, okay, what I'll do is I will start a beginning class. So we'll have the first hour will be a beginning class, and the second hour will be wouldn't be intermediate. I think it was like beginning, and then I can't remember, one level and then the next level. And I set it all up. I sent out the flyers. I didn't do have never done any pre-registration or anything like that. There's just, again, that part of me that's just like, woo, I don't want to manage all that stuff. Just show up with your money if you want to take this course. And I sold it as a course. And the room like filled up. People put down cash money for the whole course. So it wasn't just for that one class. It was like an 8-week course. But I remember just, being blown away, going home, counting out the money. And I had made $800 cash in one night. And at that point in time, I was like, we're going to the moon. Right. It was just like, oh my God. I remember I called my mom and I was like, I made $800 in one hour. And she was like, what? You know what I mean? It was like, that was like 1988 or 89. And like, that was big money back then. That was like rent, and it just made me stop and think, okay, I think we have something here.
Mm-hmm.
I think this thing could work. So then I really just started, rather than it just being Carolina's showing up to teach a dance class, I was like, okay, let me focus on this, because the motivation of cash on the table was like, yeah, I could do that. It was almost like I was like a gambler. I'm like, I got this. Let's do this, So yeah, that was an exciting moment in time, and I can still see it in my head.
So it sounds like that's when you were like, okay, I got to get serious about this because these people paid for a whole course and I've got to like give them their money's worth, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But did I plan it? No. No, it was like an ignition for me to just keep on being spontaneous, and because I'm not good at following. I'm just not good at organizing and following directions, So I was just like, okay, it was me to get the motivation to show up to do this thing. So I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, just to clarify, like at that point, there was no level 1, week 1, we learned this, level 1, week 2, we learned this. This was like you show up to class and Carolina's teaching whatever comes to her mind at that moment in time.
Well, yes. And, I've told the story many times of how I thought, I still think, but I was proven wrong. The toxeme and the shimmy, like you have to master the toxeme and the shimmy before you can go anywhere else. That's just how it worked in my head. Like I'm a Capricorn. I grew up on the edge of a cliff. I've always had to take care of myself. So it's like you got to have your foundation before you can start getting crazy here. So the toxeme obviously would be the basic slow step. The shimmy would be the basic fast step. Guess what? Those are the two hardest steps that there are to learn. The two hardest steps that there are to learn. But, so then I sort of moved into, okay, we can do the toxeme and the body wave. Right. And the hand floreo kind of showed up. You had mentioned it in one of your.
Yeah. Ask Carolina, maybe.
Ask Carolina, or when Jim Murdoch showed me the hand floreo. Oh, no, it was in the flamenco. Anyway,
Yes.
thing they presented. Then the hand floreo just kind of showed up and I realized that it kind of wanted to go along with what we were doing, So then all of a sudden, this interest in, wait a minute, our bodies are they're doing, like if we just sort of put movement into the body, the rest of the body like connects to the, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Like the synchronicity of
it. So again, like I didn't overthink that. It just sort of happened. And then I was like, oh, interesting. Let's build on that. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that's pretty much the way the whole thing's come together is I saw it. It was interesting. I built on it. And then I got down to business. Then when I really started looking at anatomy and how everything came together, that was just like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Muscles do this, and brains do this and this. That was then another fascination. So,
yeah. So again, I want to reiterate to people that maybe haven't heard your story before or don't really understand how this was such an organic evolution. But Carolina had this knowledge from a class that she took. She decided, let me just see if I could teach this class. People were interested and boom, it exploded. Meanwhile, you're like trying to figure out, how is this going to happen? How am I going to keep people interested? How am I going to keep this going? Wow, I've got to add more classes. And now I've got a level 2, which means we've got different movements, more movements. And so the continuation just continued to grow. And it sounded like there was a lot of risk involved for that growth, right? I mean, then it was like, I'm going to invest in DVDs or I'm going to invest in a studio. And so can you tell us a little bit more about some of those big risks that you've taken?
Oh, yes. And I didn't finish answering your question about the structure of the class. So I said that toxeme and shimmy were the basis. So I kept, working on that. But there was a moment where I realized that the Egyptian basic was easier than the shimmy. And traditional Carolina brain was like, no, you can't do the Egyptian basic, or so the swivel step, till you master the shimmy. And then financial planner, overseer Carolina was like, oh, yes, you can. So do you know what I mean? So I sort of have to rearrange the structure in my head of like, we must do these things in order to let's go with what the customer wants. And so literally moving to the swivel step, bringing the swivel step in before the shimmy was a light bulb of creativity and just like, yes, this. Then people were like, I can do it. And then I was like, and you can do a half turn. They're like, no, I can't. I was like, yes, you can do it. They were like, I'm doing a half turn. So I was like, yes, this is working. So, So, um, and again, like I did not do all of this myself. I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't have students in my class, and if I didn't have dedicated people in the dance troops that came and went along the way. So, like, as much as this was like on my back, the support and the influence of other people definitely had had everything to do with it. Um, but financially, yeah, I still have, it's upstairs in my room. I still have the little pencil case, little metal pencil case with squirrel nutkin. Do you remember squirrel nutkin? Or you're not
Uh-uh.
old enough? So the older people in the group chat will understand who Squirrel Nutkin was. It was a little character in a book, and my mom had given me a little metal pencil case, and with she probably had put colored pencils in it or something, and I have kept it. And so when I made that $800 cash from that first class, that money went into the pencil case. And it stayed in the pencil case until there was enough for rent. I mean, that was more than enough for rent. So then I would write the rent check for the next month and put it on top of the cash. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was like, take the cash out, put it in my bank account, but write the check and put it there. So that I always, like, that's DeAnna, the accountant, is going, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm
I'm
like,
just like, it's, I mean, that's how people budget. They have their envelope and it's like rent, and they put their rent in there, and then they're like, okay, that's done. Now there's groceries.
right. And eventually down the road, I interviewed and hired a professional accountant to help me. And he was like the most amazing man. He just retired. I'm like, "David, enjoy your retirement. You saved my life." But he said, at one point, he said, "You have a very interesting brain." I was like, "What does that mean?" He said, "I mean, and like you built a belly dance company and you're paying me to manage your money. You have a very interesting brain. It's not a bad thing." And I was like, "Okay." But um, 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 sorry, where were we? Um,
The growth, and you
oh,
took the
the
pencil
growth.
case and you put, yeah.
Pencil case, right, right, right. So, pretty much it was just like cash to rent check and cash to rent check. And people started asking about costuming. People started asking about music. I tried to get real world music on Guerrero Street to carry the music that people wanted to buy, and they felt that it was like they were so cool. They were like, "No, we're not interested in that." I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll do it." So I figured out how to you know, buy wholesale cassette tapes, hello. And I would not lend out my tapes because people, don't lend your books, don't lend your DVDs, don't lend your tapes, don't lend your VSS. You're never going to get them back. So
Don't
I
ruin
figured,
your favorite hip scarf. I'm just a little bit bitter.
yeah, right. So I figured that somehow I don't know why, in the back of my mind, I knew that it would be totally like wrong to make a mixtape of my stuff and sell it. And I don't know where that fear of God came from, but I knew that was wrong. So I encouraged people to buy from the from the artist or from the recording label, whoever provided the tape. And so there was sort of like strategizing, okay, I need to spend $150 on wholesale cassette tapes, so that goes there, and then people wanted finger cymbals. And at that time, I don't remember where I got them from, but it was like, okay, you need $150 for finger cymbals. Go, that's there. So now the level in the box is going down. So then when this money comes in, it goes back into the box under under the rent check, under the order for the finger symbols, that kind of thing. Um, and eventually, I got an opportunity to apply for a California Arts Council entry level grant. There was even longer title than that, and I took it really seriously. I'm like, I could get $2,000 to do my thing. Like that was like manna from heaven. So I overcomplicated this is where the part of Carolina's creative brain is not helpful. I overcomplicated the application process to the point of like a math test. And like, me and math in high school was like an anxiety panic attack waiting to happen. Just walking into the math room, I could just feel that because I was so confused. I so did not understand what was going on. And so the application for this amazing grant was just like you had to put a budget, and I'm like, a budget? What's a budget? Like I don't know. My little tin and my son. So like I made it like really super complicated, over detailed. But then I got the grant and I was like, oh wow, we got the grant. So the way that it worked with the grant was they gave you $2,000 and you had to match it with $2,000 that you would like you used their $2,000 to create a product or a show or whatever that would match their $2,000. So it was a matching grant. That's what it was. Entry level matching grant, something or other. And so I did it, and I created the first DVD, the volume one VHS, the volume one VHS that is dead, and you will never see it. It is gone. Do not ask. It does not exist. If you have it, send it to me, and I will burn it. It's like no.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
No. It was awful. But I was like, oh my God, I created this thing, and I hired a video engineer and, figured out the music and boom. And then the next year around, same thing, California grants. But now it was like a $3,000 match it with, they just kept upping the ante. And it worked for like 8 years.
Wow.
So they just, they would give me the money to have to match the money to be able to keep the grant. Like you couldn't apply again if you blew it, you're out. So again, it was kind of like a gamble, like if you meet this, we'll give you this, and if you meet that, and if you don't, you're done. Can't play at this table anymore. So it just gave me the courage to throw some money at it, Yeah. So while the California Arts Council was giving a little bit of money towards this video making, I was like, okay, I really think this is something. I want to put more money into it. So I started, really putting my own funds into it as well. And the video experience was absolutely horrendous. Every single second from beginning to end, totally horrendous. I could not do that again. Again, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was hiring filmmakers, or editors or whoever who didn't know what I was doing either. Right. So I thought they would like make it look good. They were like, no, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I don't know. Make it look like a class. And they were like, what does that mean? And I was like, don't you know? And they were like, don't you know? Like, So, trying to like all of a sudden cobble together this man behind the curtain is like spinning the wheels and trying to create this DVD experience based on, I know nothing about what's happening. And then let's not invoke but I ended up dating one of the editors at one point. Bad idea. Really don't ever get involved with the person who's doing that. Don't. Just don't. So it wasn't until the absolute very worst experience that I met Michelle Sieglitz, who became the champion of all DVD in my. So volume 6, 7, I don't know. One of the later volumes, someone said they were going to help me create it and produce it, and we got the footage, and then she said, "Oh, I'm done now. I'm going to like basically." I said, "But you said you were going to see this through." She was like, "I did, but I'm not. So here you go. Here's your master's. Good luck." And what? So I think I asked her for some recommendations. Michelle was one of the recommendations. And Michelle literally, not literally, figuratively showed up in a red cape and was like, whoosh, this is how it's going to roll. And I was like, thank God somebody who's got it together. And Michelle was with me until we stopped producing DVDs. She was absolutely fantastic. I've gone way off topic. Put me back on topic.
No, this is great. I mean, this is really great, Carolina, because these are the nuggets that I really I'm always constantly learning from you. I mean, that's part of I mean, one of the many reasons why I love our conversations is like the things that you're saying about like I've heard I couldn't find what I needed, so I made it. Right. And I don't know if you read my newsletter today, but I was just talking about rejection being
Yeah,
redirection. Right. So,
yeah,
okay, well, I need this music for my dancers, and I've reached out to these people and they're not going to do it. So I got to figure out how to make it happen. Um, and I love how you were like, don't wait until it's perfect. The
no,
VHS, the volume one VHS, you're like, if it's out there, burn it, but you made it. And that's the thing. I think so many people see the end result of a creation, and they're not realizing the amount of risk, the amount of redirection, the amount of rejection, the amount of everything that goes into making that happen. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to stop you. Two things while they're still in my head. Um, First thing about perfection. For all you people out there who won't get started because you can't do it until you get perfect, I'm going to tell you something. If you wait until you think it's perfect and then you put it out there and someone criticizes it, you are going to be crushed because you put all this effort into making it absolutely perfect, but you didn't do any test runs. You didn't ask for any, for whatever, if it were me, no test runs. And then you take your perfect thing and you put it out there, and people go, eh, and you'll be crushed. So to keep myself from being crushed, I am not a perfectionist. To keep myself, I should not have used myself as an example because I'm not that person. But I think part of my survival mechanism is I'm just going to roll it out, you know? And if you roll it out and people go, you go, maybe not. Okay. And if you roll it out, people go, wow, build on that. You know what I mean? But it's like you have to take risks creatively and just put stuff out there and just listen to what people say. If they don't like it, maybe it's just not for them, you know? But if they like it, but they can't access it, maybe that's something for you to work on. That's important. And I mean, it's more than important. It's really the name of the game if you're going to be financing your own creativity. And I forgot what the other thing was. So keep rolling, it'll come back.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about rejection being redirection and creating what you need. You learn by doing, so keep going. I love that. That I think I've used that the last couple of weeks in my newsletter. Like, keep going.
Keep going.
People quit like so early on. Imagine if you had started this class in Noe Valley Ministry, and the first time you only had 2 students show up to the class, you were like, "Well, this ain't gonna happen," and then you just like let it go. What would have happened?
Yeah.
Who knows? So lean into it. Don't quit. Give up. I love all of these nuggets that we're hearing from you, Carolina.
Thank you. Keep move me along because I bogged down. So
Okay. So so after, we'll just keep kind of coming back to those things as we go. But then let's get into a little bit, because we're running out of time. So I want to make sure we get into the present state and then of course the future state.
Yep.
So the present state, so we fast forward. Carolina is now got a series of DVDs. She has Mega as her traveling partner through Tribal Pura, doing teacher trainings and general skills. And this thing has now gone and blown up, and it's global, right? And through that time, there has been more risk, more structure, more like, well, that's not working. That's got to go. This isn't working. Okay, more of this. All of those things that have come through. So with the present, so now here we are, where we have this beautiful, like, I'm going to say well-packaged dance form that's like, and here you are. And so many people don't really realize all the stuff that went into that, right? So can we talk a little bit about the present state?
Yes.
So do you feel like the present state of like kind of keeping things rolling and keeping things going is as not stressful, but is it like now do you feel like you've got into a flow like in the last several years? Or do you feel like now you're kind of leaning into retirement, but basically like was the present state still that feet under the water situation? Or did you ever feel like you could just kind of like float through?
I never felt like I could float through. I felt like it was always a struggle, always a struggle, always a struggle. And when I finally decided to close the studio, it was just like, oh my God, what a relief. Of course, then I opened a shop and paid another mortgage, but that's another story. Um, and then when I finally like decided to retire, I was like, wait, what? Like I can live in this house and I get a check from my own retirement fund that I paid into, every month. And DeAnna is running FCBDU, so she's keeping the not only keeping the dance afloat, but like building it into like an island, like a continent. Like I had a dinghy in the water, and DeAnna has created a continent. And I could actually like slow down. And I'm still in the process of looking at my life and going, what? Like what? What happened? How did I do this? And my first note that I wrote down for this interview several weeks or months ago when we decided to do this, I wrote down, I don't dwell on the past. I don't keep journals, calendars, or notes. Like it's gone. So people always ask me, what about this and what about that? I'm like, I have no idea. Like it happened at some time, but I don't know when. I don't know because I for whatever reason, I'm just not interested. I have no desire to relive the past. So, um, now am I sitting in a position? I'm sitting in a position of wonderment at this point, looking at my life and how it went, and ever so grateful that it was like you created FC, like it must have been like an energetic thing because I was like waning and you were all, starting to build this and it just like worked out perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel like that as well. So kind of getting into more of the present and then in the future state. So I feel like the pandemic had a big role in kind of setting things up for the future, which it could have crashed and burned. I mean, like because as we know in the US at least, things are still trying to kind of come back from that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like the pandemic was like, well, for me anyways, I saw a lot of splintering out because people were just like, how do I teach? How do I take classes? How do I still be a part of a community? And so at that point, I had been teaching online for about a year and I was really wanting to bring everybody together. I didn't want everybody to splinter off. So we had this like, um, opportunity to really unite globally in a new way. But also, we had a lot going on in the sense of these conversations about terminology and culture and everything. And so, with you and the old Fat Chance troupe being able to kind of like sit back and say, okay, how can we take this terminology? How can we take these into the future? Like we're at a turning point, right? How can we set this up to go into the future? Um, Probably would not have had an opportunity to really make that happen if you were still 90 to nothing and traveling and all the things that had to happen because it was like the little duck feet under the water. So I feel like we had to almost take a pause
Yeah.
and restructure, regroup kind of a way and determine what the future was going to look like.
Yeah. I don't feel like it was a pause. I feel like it was like a stop.
Yeah.
The pandemic was this phenomenon of like, stop. Just stop fussing, stop fiddling, just survive. We thought it was going to be 3 weeks long,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it was like, you're wearing your rubber gloves when you go out and your mask, and you were just like, get some food, just get some food, just get some food. And all of a sudden, it was definitely a moment to just stop and think, like, wait a minute, how much energy are we expending on things that, are not paying off or are not beneficial and not supportive? For me, it was just that moment of like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that summer before, that summer before is when I had left my corporate job, as we know, and I told Mark. And for those of you that aren't into the woo woo, you're going to roll your eyes. For those of you that are into the woo woo, you're going to get it. But as somebody that is the overthinker, perfectionist kind of tendency, I had to think long and hard to like leave something that was stable where I didn't have to take a bunch of risks. And I told Mark, I said, I just feel like something's going to happen and I need to free up some time. And he was like, he totally trusts the process. He was like, okay. I was like, I don't know what it is. He's like, that's fine. And lo and behold, I had the time. I had the time to do this thing and create this thing that I wish I would have had back in the day. And I'm so grateful that I was able to just listen to my intuition, because normally I would have and I had like just kind of pushed it aside. So coming into like the present state, something that I'm really proud of FCBDU, and I don't want to toot that horn too much because it did, but it is. I feel like it was something that was needed at that point in time, and of course going forward, because all this little that can sometimes pull apart a community. It was like, let's just resolve this. Like, let's not. You have a question about technique? Here it is. You want to ask a question of the teacher? Here it is. You want to connect with Carolina every month and ask her questions? Here you go. Like, what else can I do for you? Kind of a thing. So I just kind of took that time to utilize that connection, because as somebody that moved all the way to the other side of the country, didn't have a lot of, I left my troop, my friends, my everything. I needed that. And so when I felt everybody kind of pulling apart, I was like, so creating what I needed was what I did. But lo and behold, it was a time when you also leaned into what you were needing, which was like, finally you could sit back and just like not have to paddle so much.
Yeah. And yes, to everything that you said. And I'm like a big fan of FCBDU. Like, I'm just like, that's the money right there. I mean, this is not a sales pitch. This is not a sales pitch, but, but back in the day when I had, from the beginning, when I was teaching at various studios and then I eventually rented my own studio, what people needed was FCBDU to be able to take a live class, get inspired, go home, and for a nominal amount of money per month, be able to clock into all these different homework lessons and, questions answered and just, video inspiration, like all that stuff. I mean, we didn't have the internet back then, but which is why we had DVDs. But it was exactly what people needed, and it just had not been invented yet because DeAnna hadn't thought it up yet. And the other thing that I was going to say was your alignment course. Your alignment course is the course that I wanted general skills to be. I mean, I wanted general skills to also be about steps, but the way that you weave together the esoteric and the physical into the alignment course is just like the perfect balance to something that about like general skills and teacher training that's all about just like, do this step, do it again, do it. And for me, that works, but for a lot of people that doesn't. So your expertise in anatomy and magic, it opens up the step in a different way, for people to come in and like, here's this step, you might get it by doing it repetitively because you're sort of a natural mover, or maybe you're intellectual and you need to get it this way, or maybe you're just purely kinetic and you need to get it this way. So I think that the courses that you've created are amazing, and they were exactly what I would have wanted to, back in the day, but didn't have it yet. But
Oh,
now you do. But now you do.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I'm also, I want to check in with the YouTube comments and just make sure. And if anybody has any questions, of course, please feel free to drop them in. Ross says, oh wait, McKenna's here. Hi, McKenna. Ross says you put the hand on the wheel and something happened.
Yeah.
Lisa says, love the historical nuggets. And Lacey also says, we have a continent now.
We do.
Cherry says, you created what we all needed, DeAnna. And then doing alignment. Oh, Deb Rubin's doing alignment again this summer. She was in the original one. And the step, the anatomy, and the magic. Yes, that's FCBDU. FCBDU saved the fragmentation of our community and saved the future of FCBD dance. Well, that's a huge statement and a huge compliment. Thank you, Kathy. So let's talk a little bit about the future of FCBD Style, right? Yeah. So I'm really excited about the future because, y'all, I'm all in. I'm here. I feel like I am simply the curator of how we are going to take this into the future and keep going. I know Carolena and I, we've had this conversation in the past, but I really want to reiterate this here and now. Like, I am not, nor have I ever wanted to be the next Carolena or the next Mega or the next whomever. Like, that's not me. In fact, I have an email that I wrote to Mega back in 2013, and I read it the other day, and it was talking about how I wanted to just be me. And I had stuff that I wanted to share with the world and share with the community. But people didn't know me, and they only knew me as DeAnna of Daviani, or DeAnna's assisting Mega, or DeAnna's helping Carolina, or you know what I mean? And I was always tied to somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's not me. What I want to do is I want to use what I've learned, like what I have to share with the world. And a lot of that is the organizing, the project management. Yes, of course, the teaching and the nerding out and all of that stuff on the technology side. But I'm like, hey, y'all, I'm an artist that has all of these business skills. Let me help. I'm here for this.
Yeah. Help me, please.
Yeah, right? So I'm like, I'm here. I'm excited about the future. We have worked, and Carolina is a part of that, absolutely. And we have worked really hard on, okay, let's update and modify or modernize rather, the general skills trainings, the teacher trainings. Let's put together manuals. Now we even have manuals in Spanish. Thank you, Lore. Right? We have a completely new advanced teacher training course that I have to say is like F-bomb amazing.
It is.
So we're just continuing what Carolina took so many risks, took so much of her life, went down so many rabbit holes of this is working, this isn't working. And so we're building on everything that she's done, the knowledge that she has, the risks that she's taken, the learning from the things that didn't work, because we have a lot of conversations that you guys aren't a part of behind the scenes where she's like, girl, trust me, that's not going to work. Or what you need to do is make sure that you have, well, what I learned from you, Carolina, was boundaries. Yep. Right? Making sure that you have boundaries in place. So, we're just going to continue to grow, continue to thrive. And as I said, I'm not here to be the next Carolina. I'm not here to be the next Mega. What I'm here to do is make sure that we have this amazing, magical, life-changing art form that it would be an absolute disaster if we couldn't take this forward for future generations, right? We're building that for future generations and continuing to move as we move through with technology. I personally can't wait to offer live classes with little vision glasses where everybody comes into their virtual class. I mean, like, I'm here for that, you know, but just continuing on with everything that you built. And I'm excited to see now with technology how we can continue to make that happen.
Absolutely. And so can I chime in?
Yes, please.
So if we're just talking about Carolina and DeAnna, um, Carolina had all these ideas, and that's kind of what it feels like over here in Carolina world. And DeAnna is like, okay, this, and then we need this, and then we need this, and then we get everything. And Carolina's like, really? DeAnna's like, swear to God. And I'm like, like that you could take my crazy and organize it into something that's not rigid. Do you know what I mean? It's like I think that when I thought of organizing things, it became my creativity felt like it became rigid, you know? And for all the people who tried to help me organize things, sorry, didn't work. You know, like because I just was afraid of that rigidity. And you were able to put flexibility into the organization, you know, and that was the moment when, like, when we made the decision to transfer the business part of it and the training and the courses and all that over to you, I can't tell you what that felt like. It was just like, like, oh my God, what a relief. Because how would we have gone forward, you know, if you hadn't have done that? Because I can't do it anymore. I not only can I not physically do, I can barely walk from here to there without having to use a cane. Do you know what I mean? Like my body is beat. So um, there'd be no way. There'd be no way for it to. There'd be no way for me to supervise it. Do you know what I mean? And handing it to you was just like it was the best. So yeah, thank you so much.
And it's my absolute thank you for that. And it's my absolute pleasure because I feel like I'm giving back to you. You know what I mean? Like everything that you've given to the world, everything that you've given to me, I feel like now is my opportunity to use what I have and the knowledge that I have and give back to you. Like keep your vision going, keep your gifts to the world going. And then but also creating space so that other people can step in. So
Yep.
that's the beauty of like our advanced teacher training and our advanced teacher training graduates and having more and more instructors on FCBDU. We've got to keep it going. We have to be able to try classes with new instructors that we might not have heard of because maybe they have something else to offer, like giving a chance to people to help bring up and infuse this dance world with just so much brilliance that's out there. I mean, our community is, again, F-bomb brilliant. Like we have psychiatrists, we have designers, we have doctors, and we have so much talent. And these people are putting their knowledge into their classes because how can you not live a whole other life and have it influence what you do? And that, I mean, that's part of FCBDU, why I'm so excited to have new instructors. And it's so cool to see their nerdiness of their other lives come into and influence their teaching style. I mean, what comes to mind is Paloma and her anime and geekiness that she brings into her classes. So it's just so fun. So it's giving other people an opportunity as well to help us keep going forward.
And I think that perhaps my contribution to everything that's happening now is when we started the beginning of this conversation, I said that I was very strict in my classes when I first started. And because I was very strict and because the dance form, like the, the reference, was it Rembrandt or whoever it was that said, not whoever, but the artist that said that they they just chipped away at the stone and the image came out. They didn't design what they were going to carve. They just started
Yeah.
it came out. And that's sort of how I feel about the dance. Like I didn't do anything. I just watched people and I watched animals and I watched art and I watched colors and I listened to music. And it just like the dance form was there. I just liberated it from whatever static place that it had been. But once it did come out, I was like, no, no, this is what a toxeme is. This is a body wave. This is a floreo. This is a swivel step. This is a shimmy. And no, you can't change it. And no, you can't change it. And how did I do that? Because I had put them on VHS tape and sold them to the rest of the world. So I had to stick to my own original plan because I had already distributed it to everyone, right? So when you come through with FCBDU and bringing new teachers in, we can trust that process because this is a toxeme and this is a body wave and this is a swivel step and this is a shimmy and you can't change it. So we
Right.
know that anybody coming in has subscribed to the plan, and we're not having to make we're not having to like audition people and rate people and decide if we like them or not. It's not about that. Like if you're doing the steps properly, then you're doing the steps properly. And it doesn't matter whether we like you or not, or I shouldn't say we, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't
Everybody that we bring in, they have that level of trust. And with the instructors that we bring in, because so I've brought in a few instructors that I've never taken a class with. That's rare. But a lot of the instructors that we bring in, it's because I've gotten to know them and I've seen them in teacher trainings and advanced teacher trainings and technique for teachers. And I know that they are like on it with their technique. So at that point, it's like when I reach out to instructors about teaching on FCBDU, my reach out is usually, what would you like to teach?
Yeah.
Because I want them to infuse their personality, their joy, like the things that they really want to teach into what their class, because what they teach I know is already going to be amazing because they follow Carolina's technique, right? So now it's a matter of how do you want to present it? So like Eileen's Power of the Gaze workshop comes to mind. That was completely her idea. I knew she was amazing and I wanted her as a part of FCBDU. But you could really see her personality come through in that class. And yeah, so I'm just really proud of all we're doing at FCBDU, bringing in more instructors and really showcasing the future of the present and the future of Fat Chance Belly Dance Style.
Yep.
I have a couple more questions and then I'll let you go, Carolina. But I wanted to ask this earlier, but what is something that you might tell your younger self? Like if you could go back and say, okay, baby Carolina, that's just starting these classes,
Would
this is what I want you to know.
would baby Carolina have listened to wise Carolina? I'm not sure. I think I would tell my younger self to create boundaries because what's happened real time is that because I did not create boundaries, now I have walls. So there's a whole part of me that is walled off. It's been hurt way too many times. It's been taken advantage of way too many times. And there's a wall and you can't get through it. And that's the way it is. And I feel like if I had understood boundaries and created boundaries throughout or maintained those boundaries throughout the journey, I would be less walled off today. So boundaries for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And boundaries are not bad.
Right.
Human beings are pack animals. We need boundaries. Dogs are pack animals. They need boundaries. It's like if you live in community, there has to be structure. There just has to be. Some of it, human structure is cray cray. I mean, dogs make sense to me, like their boundaries make total sense. Human boundaries can get a little bit extreme, but I think that in terms of just like this one isolated thing, this dance form and me, boundaries would have been a really healthy thing, and I didn't do that, and so I'm, I'm. There's the bitterness in my mouth.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, as you ease into retirement, some of that can ease as well.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine, yeah, I can't imagine all of what you've gone through. I mean, of course, we've discussed things, and I've heard a variety of your or various of your stories, but I know that the challenge, like, I can't imagine the challenges that you've gone through over the last 40 plus years of creating something that's bringing so many people joy. The amount of heartache and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, literally blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into this dance form so that the whole world can enjoy it and grow is such I don't the term that's coming to mind is such a beautiful sacrifice, which sounds really weird, but hopefully the intent you can understand. I'm just
Yeah. I
yeah,
got
we
it.
can never know what you've gone through to make this happen for us, and I'm forever grateful. So I hope I can just continue to do it any little bit of justice to take it forward.
Well, yeah, and without, making this into a Carolina and DeAnna love fest, although that's kind of what this is. Um, there's a lot of skeletons in the closet. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff here that you don't want to know about. Like, all you beautiful people out there in television land, thank you for all your cards and letters. If you ever watched the Lawrence Welk show, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But there's a closet full of skeletons, that if I open the door, it could overwhelm me. Do you
Mm,
know what I mean? But I'm keeping the door shut, and
mm,
I'm turning towards progress, towards DeAnna, or I don't know which way the point goes on the Vimeo thing. But, to me, DeAnna represents progress and community and a fresh start and keeping that door locked so the skeletons don't get out, because you can't just make the skeletons go away.
right.
Do you know what I mean? But I can keep the door locked, and I can look towards the future. And that's what I trust. I trust you to keep it light, keep it bright, keep it light, keep it moving, keep the boundaries there, because yeah.
Yes, yes, and I have learned that from you, and I learned that from Mega as well, and that was a lesson I took a long time to learn, because when you put boundaries in place, you lose people, you lose,
You do.
and that can be really hard. But those are the people that were taking advantage of the fact that you didn't have those boundaries.
There you go.
So here
Yep.
we are. Yeah,
Yep.
here we are. Okay, so that kind of gave me this. I was going to ask you next, as you pass the torch, what words of encouragement or wisdom would you like to leave with the community? But it sounds like those were beautiful ones. Is there anything else that you'd
Yeah,
want to
there is, but I would like to say
Yeah.
something to the community. I would like to say, mind your business. That's what I'd like to say. Mind your business. Don't put your fingers in other people's business. If you want to dance, dance. Slow down, explore it, enjoy it, do it at your own speed. We don't have as many live classes now, but we have this amazing platform of FCBDU to bring you classes in your home whenever you want. So take your time and explore it, and not so much that you should become isolated and not, connect with community, but don't get pushed around and don't put your fingers in other people's business, and trust yourself and be nice to each other. Like, the amount of catfighting that I have seen is like, are you kidding me? Like, are you this is what you want to use your energy for? Is criticizing, judging, catfighting, like power, like what? Like, don't, just don't, like, don't even think about it. don't bring it to me, don't bring it into the room, don't bring it to the community. And for your own mental health, like get it out of your head and just get up and start dancing, and don't worry about other people. Don't worry what they're doing. Just take care of your own business. That's my advice.
Yeah. Oh, that's great life advice in general, and not just for dance.
I think it's also a process of youth. There's something in the trying to, like, I think in trying to connect with a group, or a concept or a movement. We as human beings, we so much want to be accepted and liked by, the group that we aspire to, that somehow we start picking each other off, like, well, that girl and that girl and that guy and this, like, like me, and like, don't waste your time on it. Just don't waste your time on it. Like, let it roll. Just let it roll. And I'm still learning how to do it, because the little judgmental, fairy hops up on my shoulder sometimes and is like, me. And I'm like, will you stop, please? And she's like, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's something in our humanness that makes that happen. And it's just not productive. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you get in. It's not going to help you get into the group.
Mm-mm.
Mind your own business. That might be another tattoo.
Mind your business. Yeah. Well, and be encouraging. Like, it doesn't take you instead of being discouraging to someone, like, just be encouraging. We've seen enough discouraging, and hopefully this will, hopefully we don't have that anymore. Hopefully we just have positive. I am definitely a love, light, rainbows, and unicorns person. What I am also behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see is a don't F-bomb with me person, but I'll be nice about it, So definitely, love your neighbors, love your community. And if you can't contribute something positive, then yeah, exactly.
Zip it.
So speaking of contributing something positive, I know we've got another thing we've got to jump onto. So I want to make sure that we wrap this up. But I do want to share a few things about the future of FCBD Style, because as we move into the new year, I am a planner, as many of you know, and I love that Carolena and I have this balance. So FCBDU for 2025 is planned, y'all. We have podcast guests for every month in 2025. I'm even adding in podcasts from other guests. We have, I was counting when I was laying in bed this morning, we have, like, just in the first quarter of 2025 alone, we have like 25 new classes.
Wow.
And then we have, I think, 5 new instructors for 2025. Like, we have a lot going on. So I am definitely the planning kind of person. But along with all of those things, now that FCBDU is the home of all of the education for Fat Chance Belly Dance Style, of course, we also have all the events, all the training events and certification courses happening here in Portland next year, including general skills and teacher training, which I'll talk about coming in the next couple of weeks. But we're also now really going to start focusing more on supporting certified studios, because now that falls under the FCBDU umbrella. So be on the lookout for more certified studio resources, including quarterly Zoom brainstorming calls. We've got one coming up in January, which I won't share too much yet with, because I want to share it with Carolena first. We're meeting today with the FCCE team to start talking about the new continuing education program. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to have some more live weekly classes coming out. And Carolena and I had also talked briefly about doing, I have this idea for an online summit, which is kind of like a whole weekend of workshops, all happening online with various certified studios from around the world, showcasing some of their skills and things that they want to share. So it's limitless, basically. I just get so excited and so motivated and so inspired by our community that Yeah, it's limitless. So you would think, and I know a lot of people are like, but it's fat chance. There's limited vocabulary, even though it's like, how limited could it possibly be with all of the variations and everything we have? But it's so much more than just a dance style, as we know, right? We're here because it's changed so many of our lives. It's changed us on a mental space, emotional. It might have changed our careers because maybe we feel a little more empowered or a little more confident. It's changed our friendships and our connections that we have. And it's more than just movement. And so the Fat Chance style, the Fat Chance University is more than just movement. And so I'm really excited for the future and what all we're going to be able to continue to contribute to the community.
Yeah. And actually, as you were just speaking about your ideas about putting together all the courses and events, that's what I was when I was back in the day when I was getting excited about creating dance steps and oh my God, look, there's a formation and oh my God, a cue. Oh my God, this is happening now. I got to put the like, how do I do this? That's exactly, that's like, there we go. That's our connection right there. It's like, I got this idea. Don't talk to me. I got to write this down. Like I gotta.
Exactly. I got to get it on my Trello board.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so exciting. I'm so excited that I still get to be involved. It's just
yes, everything. I gave you, you have like a blanket invitation on all of the things. So, okay. So as we end, I want to just check in with the YouTube comments real fast and have a little thing for our ending. So everybody's loving your statement on boundaries, Carolina. Inga says, because I did not create boundaries, I have walls. She gave you so many thumbs up. That is so wise. Very good advice, Ross says. Lisi says, can we have a workshop about boundaries? Mark that. I'm really excited because we have some psychologists and counselors joining in several of our podcasts next year. So hold that. Yeah, I know. It's really exciting. Thank you so much for the update of what's going to be on FCBDU in 2025. Lisi says, ooh, summit anticipation. Edie says, this is so interesting. Bridget says, love you guys. Love what you're planning for the future. Thank you both. And Inga says, Lisi, yes, I need a workshop on boundaries. I need a workshop on boundaries too, y'all. So that's definitely coming. I'm all about creating what I need. I mean, that's what FCBDU is. It's what does DeAnna want to do?
But I feel like, again, it's not a sales pitch, but for $25 a month, you basically get to call onto the raft and just float along the river while mermaids bring you Mai Tais and snacks. That's kind of what it is. Do you know what I mean? Because DeAnna is like cranking out these perfectly organized, well-timed and, events and classes and stuff. And all you have to do is just sit on the raft and wait for the Mai Tai to show up in your hand. Or Bloody Mary on my, can I switch mine to a green chili?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like if you were still over in Carolina land, you'd have on your backpack and your hiking boots and you'd be like, are we still going up this hill? And like, yes, go up the hill, go faster. Do you know what I mean? Or you could lay on the raft. So
yeah. So lay on your raft with your Mai Tai, your little umbrella and your thing. Right? I'm here for you.
I think I'm
here for it. Oh, that was something else I was going to say. And I love that analogy. So thank you for that, Carolina. So while we're about to close out, so thank you all for those of you that are still joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much. I do want to take this moment to thank our members because without our members, we wouldn't be here. I mean, I couldn't be able to do everything that I'm doing without your support. It was really important to me to have free resources because this is a community. So podcasts, vocabulary page, like free classes, all of these resources that we do for the community and the things that I don't share that we do. So because this came up actually in the survey, some of the things that your membership contributes is not only the cost of putting this together, because damn, my little tin box, y'all, of my receipts and all of my investments are like, so your $25 is helping me with that. But we also reinvest back into the community. So I'm not one to say like, if you can't afford it, let me know. No. If I see that somebody's struggling, I'm there for you, right? If there are studios that are having problems, or dancers that are going through health issues, whatever the case is, FCBDU is there to contribute to that as well, and we have been doing that. I just don't feel like that's something to be really, really vocal about. Like, there's no need for me to post that on social. But I wanted to tell you that now, because knowing that you're $25 a month in your membership, and some of you are still there at the $20, good for you, goes back into the community, both for FCBDU, but also these things that are happening behind the scenes that you might not know about. So I'm just really, really grateful for your investment. So thank a member. If you're not a member, please be sure to thank a member. And so as we leave, I want to just read this little thing that I wrote out for our closing. As we wrap up this incredible conversation, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound journey of Fat Chance Belly Dance Style, right? How it began with like this one single class in San Francisco, and how it now has blossomed into this global phenomenon, and how it continues to thrive as it's a shared language that we can unite with all around the world. This dance isn't just steps or formations. It's so much more. It's a lifestyle, it's a life changer, and it's a truly magical art form that unites a world at a time when there is so much division. Carolina's legacy reminds us that when we pour our hearts into something we love, we can create something timeless and transformative. So as we step into the future, guided by this incredible foundation that she has given to us, let's remember what makes this style so special. Its ability to bring us together, inspire us to grow, and remind us of the joy that dance brings into our lives. Whether you're new to Fat Chance Belly Dance Style or have been dancing for years, you're a part of this beautiful story, and your contributions help to keep it alive. So thank you, Carolina, for your vision and for your dedication, for not giving up in all those hard times. And thank all of you for listening today and for being a part of our community and helping us carry this torch into the future. We're doing this together.
Yeah.
Together, we honor the past, we embrace the present, and we move forward with purpose and inspiration. So until next time, keep dancing, keep connecting, keep inspiring.
And mind your own business.
And mind your own business. And let's continue on with this beautiful journey that you started for us all, Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you all so much for joining us. If you're joining us live, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're joining us later, feel free to add any comments. And I think that's it. So thank you so much again, Carolina.
Thank you, DeAnna, for so much. But this was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thanks for organizing it.
My pleasure.
This is I got this, right? She's got
this is how we work so well together, right? Carolina's got her notes, right? And I'm like, I've got it all typed up in a Google document.
And I'm just like, if I put a box around it, I'll remember to say it. If I put a star by it, I'll know that it's important. Thank you.
This is why it's such a great working relationship as well.
It is, for sure.
All right. Much love. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next month on our podcast. Bye. Can I figure out how to turn it off?